The verdict right now is on the question of whether or not Mr. Trump raped E. Jean Carroll. The jury has found him, has said no. But on the question of whether or not she was sexually abused by the former president and whether or not he forcibly touched her, the jury has come back and said yes. They have found him liable for sexually abusing and forcibly touching E. Jean Carroll back in 1996.
Yet another grim day in American history, brought to you by Donald Trump, who now becomes the first American president ever found liable for sexual abuse and battery. But Tuesday was also a day of victory for former writer E. Jean Carroll, the woman Donald Trump abused and defamed. It took a New York jury less than 3 hours to find that Trump did sexually abuse and batter Carroll back in the mid-90s. That jury also awarded Carroll $5 million in damages for her pain and suffering. And Trump, who refused to testify during his own trial, wasn't happy.
A Trump-hating, Clinton-appointed judge who went out of his way to make sure that the result of this trial was as negative as it could possibly be, speaking to and in control of a jury from an anti-Trump area, which is probably the worst place in the United States for me to get a fair trial. We'll be appealing this decision. It's a disgrace. I don't even know who this woman is. I have no idea who she is, where she came from. This is another scam. It's a political witch hunt.
Now, it should be noted that while Trump may claim he doesn't know E. Jean Carroll, a jury of his peers just found that to be a lie. And while Trump may be promising to appeal his case, even the conservative legal analysts over at Fox News say that's likely to be a waste of time.
I think the jury's verdict will strike the Court of Appeals as discriminating and careful, which is to say they went through the evidence. They decided not to find him liable for rape, but did find him liable for sexual abuse. That matches up the kind of testimony that they heard in the case. Ms. Carroll was the only one who went to the extent of rape, but the two other victim witnesses wouldn't go that far or didn't go that far. And claim forms of sexual assault.
In other words, Trump got a fair trial. The only reason the jury was so fast in making its decision was because everyone seemingly agreed right away that Trump was a sexual abuser. And even Trump seemed to admit that he's not quite exactly sure how to wiggle out of this verdict.
And somehow we're going to have to fight this stuff. We cannot let our country go into this abyss. This is disgraceful. You have somebody running for office. You have a woman that's financed and lied about it. She totally lied about it by Democrat operatives, like just about the biggest one there is. And she said that wasn't true. They found that she lied about it, and the judge wasn't even, I guess, letting it be put in as evidence. The whole thing is a scam.
Watching Donald Trump try to understand the legal process is truly an amazing sight to behold. And you might think that for a guy who just lost a civil trial for defaming the woman he sexually assaulted, Trump might want to ease up on doing even more defamation in this video. Trump is hinting that he'll appeal on the grounds of what he calls unconstitutional silencing. And believe it or not, those aren't just two random words Trump threw together. But just because Trump knows what those words are, doesn't mean he actually understands what they mean. And one big reason why Trump's unconstitutional silencing appeal won't work? No one has actually silenced him. In fact, Trump was offered not one, but two opportunities to stand in his own defense and testify at trial. He had the chance to explain his whole grand theory to the world. There's just one catch. He would have had to do it under oath. Suddenly, Trump didn't have much to say. And if you're wondering what Republicans think of all this, well, buckle up, because I have some wild quotes to share with you. Let's start with RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel, who argued that the American people just aren't all that bothered by all that sexual abuser stuff.
Well, we haven't heard from President Trump yet, so I don't want to get ahead of him. We have heard him prior to the verdict saying this is untrue. I imagine he'll say the same thing. I do think the American people, though, are going to be focused on what's happening at our southern border, what's happening with inflation, what's happening in their lives under the Biden administration. And that's where I think the focus is going to continue to be for people looking at 2024 and ahead.
Sorry, Rana, but I think the American people can probably spare a couple of minutes now that their former president is now a proven sexual abuser. That stunning news would be a deal breaker for most normal Americans, but not for North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer. I'd rather have a president that isn't found liable for battery, Cramer told reporters. It's not a disqualifier, but it's certainly not a check in the plus column. Wow. Just wow. You heard it direct from the GOP, folks. The Family Values Party no longer considers sexual assault to be a deal breaker. And while Rana was ignoring the issue and Kevin Cramer was selling his soul to Donald Trump, the folks over at Newsmax had another reaction. They want you to know that Trump being found liable for sexual abuse is actually a huge win for the far right.
Don't worry about the money, whether it's $4 or $5 million. That means nothing to Trump. He did not want to be labeled a rapist. He is not a rapist. They came back with no. So trust me when I tell you this was a major win for Donald Trump today. They will appeal it. And I guarantee you when they appeal, some of these damages and that abuse charge will go away too. But the main thing was rape, yes or no, came back no. That's a win for President Trump.
I love that in the Newsmax world, the sexual abuse charge is still considered in the winning column. Don't set that bar too low, guys. You might trip over it. Republicans have been presented with yet another great opportunity to break with Trump and bury his political future forever. Sadly, we already know the choice they'll make. For the new right, it's always Trump over country over party. And if you enjoyed that story, how about some more? Check out this clip of even more Republicans behaving badly. And as always, leave me a like and a comment below so you can let me know what I should cover next.